Greetings, one and all, and welcome to this hopefully fairly brief overview video for the recent update to Robocraft, the Smart Weapons update. An update that has added a brand new weapon to the game and heavily updated how weapons actually act within a battle. The main way this has changed, as the name may suggest, the weapons are now smart weapons, only firing if they are not going to clip into your own vehicle. This means if you're going to be using a rail, for instance, there is zero chance of that rail firing and only then finding out that the shot has actually clipped into another gun or the robot itself. But just to make sure things are a little bit fairer and to make sure people don't make robots where all the weapons are hidden on the inside except for one on the outside, if you start firing using this method, as we can see here, you lose a lot of fire rate. You're only firing with the weapons you're actually firing with, so you are suffering through a penalty, meaning building is still quite important when it comes to at least weapon placement. So with that out of the way, let's get into the most exciting addition, the new weapon. And here it is, the Ion Destabilizer. Now, it's not really that much of a new weapon, to be perfectly honest. It is a smaller variant of the Ion Distorter. It is, for all intents and purposes, a shotgun. It's a smaller shotgun than the massive Ion Distorter. It shoots less pellets than the original, however it does also use up far less energy. Every time you fire this weapon it costs still a fairly hefty 18.5 of your energy, whereas the original takes 28. The CPU usage is 145, and it has a very similar placement method as the original Proto Seeker, so it has 5 connection points per weapon. We're going to purchase a couple now, just so we can get the nominal count, and we're going to see how it does in the single player mode. Sadly, it seems like the servers are going through a bit of a meltdown. I can't queue up for any real battles, and the single player is devoid of enemy robots. But at least while we're here, we can show a few things. First of all, the fire rate of this weapon, as we can see, is actually very good when you're using the nominal count, which this poor test robot is indeed using. This poor robot gets more deformed with every single patch, it seems. So we are still going to run out of energy very quickly, as if we were using the larger shotgun. Of course, the problem is this takes up a lot more CPU than just one large shotgun, but does provide a lot in the way of redundancy. And of course, we can also show off the fact of the smart weapons working here as well, and actually not being too bad for our fire rate. I find that weapons with slower fire rates are less affected negatively by the smart weapons when they're all not firing at once. But before we go back to the main menu and have a look at the whole host of UI changes to the game, we can quickly respawn to show a lovely new indication of when you are undergoing the passive regeneration that happens when you respawn. It's now obvious when either an enemy or an ally is undergoing the regeneration, so you don't waste shots. That's something I have been wanting since the advent of the regeneration system after respawning, so I am really happy that that's now happened. Back to the main menu. The changes to the UI are in a very high number, so I won't be covering every single change right now, so if you would like to see the full patch notes, like all update videos, the link will be in the description. The first thing I would like to say though is there is now a change to hovers. Hovers can now finally be used with Strafe Mode, which is very, very good indeed. We can find that using the new UI in the settings for each robot, and then going for keyboard controls, which is the strafing, I believe, or the camera. Actually, the other way around, it's the camera control steering, which is the strafe mode, so the robot will point towards where the camera is pointing. This is really nice, because I feel like hovers actually benefit more than mechs using the strafing system. Now, there have been things said as well on the patch notes about helicopters and thruster sticks and all that kind of stuff using strafing as well, although it's not quite as finished yet. It's not quite as refined, although planes can also use it. So once again, a full read of the patch notes will say that in its entirety. So what are the major changes then? Well, first of all, we can now go all the way to 100 bays for free, which is really, really nice indeed, so I can finally start keeping all of the robots that I'm accruing from the factory. But also, we can actually move them around. Now this is a very, very small change, but I absolutely love it. Just the fact we can actually move the robots in order, for a lot of people, that means absolutely nothing. For someone like me, it's absolutely lovely. When we press the play button, as we can see, it's all nice and laid out now, rather than the old shape, which I think is a lot easier to understand. And when you go into editing the robot, which you can either go into from pressing play and edit, selecting a block, or simply pressing the hotkey, you can see things are different here as well. When you are holding a block, the CPU count at the bottom, which is now a lot more obvious, will actually show you how much CPU it will increase it by if you add this block. So as we can see, we add it using the mirror mode, and it's moving up to the point it is highlighting, all the way to the maximum CPU. So that's really nice. It just makes it a lot easier when you're building and you don't end up trying to play something and then getting the error message simply saying, oh, by the way, you can't place that, you've got to maximum CPU. Like I say, other than that, the amount of UI changes have been immense. There is now music playing whilst you're building, which is a bit less atmospheric, a bit more combat orientated. All of the old systems are still up here, and I'm going to have one last look at the patch notes just to see if there's anything else I may have missed which I want to cover here. After quickly rereading the patch notes, I have concluded I think I've covered all of the things I really want to cover here. Everything else is just a matter of learning new hotkeys and getting used to the UI controls, in addition to a whole host of bug fixes. So rather than go through every single one of them in this video and make it needlessly long, all of those can be found in the description and the link to the patch notes themselves. I hope I've been somewhat helpful in highlighting the new changes, and if you have enjoyed the video, then of course, likes, favourite, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that Robocraft is a series you wish to see continued in the future. I'm going to be playing around a little bit more now with strafing hovers and using the smart weapons to my advantage, and hopefully I'll actually get a build video out soon with a bit of combat. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.